It's talking all about dogs' confidence. I really, really like this subject. I think it's really important because, like I think every dog actually that I see or a social problem, it's lacking in confidence. I would say it shows up in a few different ways. Like it shows up in nervousness, it shows up in like aggression and reactivity. So it shows up like basically not behaving appropriately with other people and other dogs. It's all kind of down to confidence. So I really rate this as a subject. Okay, so if you think about the most confident dog you know, the most well-behaved, confident, most rounded dog you know, it's very unlikely that dog's going to show reactivity. They're not robots, so it does happen, but it doesn't happen that often. So the more confident you can get your dog, the less likely it is to be reactive. So it's something I think is really important, really, really important. So, get myself right. Yeah. So if you're not really sure if your dog is unconfident or lacking in confidence, if you think about how it is in the house, and think of it like, say if you were sitting on the couch with your dog and you got up and your dog got up as well, or if you just went to the bathroom and the dog came into the bathroom or tried to follow you into the bathroom as well, or if you left the room, if you left the house, if you left the room and your dog started barking and crying, that is lack of confidence as well. It can be, in some situations, it can be the dog's just super excited and a bit overstimulated, and that's why it's barking or following you around. But generally, if you've got all that stuff going on, it tends to be a confidence issue. Okay, so you can have a think. If your dog is displaying any of those things, then it's usually a confidence thing. So, like, you know yourself, like, we're all different. We're all totally different. We've had different lives. We've had different good things happen to us. We've had different negative experiences. We've got different genetics. We've got different. We're predisposed to different things. It's exactly the same with your dog. Some dogs are just, they're genetically more inclined to be nervous. Some are genetically predisposed to be a bit more confident. But like, to give you a kind of example of this as well, I've got 3 dogs, and 2 of them are collies that I adopted when they're adolescents. They're a wee bit older. They both got the same lives. They're both the same breed. They both treat the same way. Everything's similar. Everything's the same with them. yet one is really quite optimistic and outgoing, and the other is more prone to be nervous. He's pretty good now, he is pretty good, but the confidence is something that I constantly have to work on with him, constantly, always having to do it. So it just shows like you can have two dogs of the same type and they're different, same as we're all different. Okay, so I didn't give an outline. I didn't give an outline of what we're going to cover. Yes, so same as normal, 30 to 40 minute session. That's what we're aiming for. And I will give you I'm going to go into like a few different things. I'm going to go over the kind of like misconceptions about confidence, because that's a pretty big thing as well. You quite often get people that'll give you rubbish advice about confidence. So I'm going to dispel a few of the kind of common myths. I'm going to talk a wee bit as well about why I think it's really, really important. And I'm going to give you a few kind of examples of things that you can do with your own dog to improve its confidence. So, so what are we? We've done a wee bit about how to recognise it. So you know yourself, you can identify if your dog's got these kind of issues going on, if it's got the kind of, like we talked about, if it's showing the reactivity, if it's showing the kind of reluctance to be a dog, really, because dogs are they should be having fun, they should be having adventures, they should be being a dog. I don't know how else to describe it, like just, more kind of wanting to go and explore things. Dogs are exploring opportunists, so if they're not displaying their genetic needs, that is quite often a confidence thing. So okay, first thing I would say is I have heard people say my dog's just not confident, or my dog is really confident. And like if you go back to that example about my two collies, confidence is not fixed. Yeah, you might be predisposed to be less confident, and your dog might be predisposed to be really, really optimistic and confident in some ways, but it's not fixed at all. You can build it, you can develop your dog's confidence. So never lose heart if your dog is nervy, or if it is if it's showing signs of being really underconfident. Don't lose hope at all, because there are things you can do to build it up. So yeah, don't listen to anybody who says that dog confidence is fixed, because it's not. It really isn't. It's just like us. Like, we can do things to build our own confidence. You can build your dog's confidence as well. Some are just further ahead than others. So the other thing I was going to say is, it's not like black and white. It's not that they're just confident or not confident. and they're like that across the board, because they can act more nervous or more kind of optimistic and confident in different situations. So to give you a kind of example of that, I've got a Labrador, a young Labrador, and he is super confident when he's playing with a toy or an object. He's really, really confident, and he'll take the toy when it's right in front of another dog. He's super, super confident. But in different situations, it would be like if there's a bed involved, one of my colleagues would be more confident in that kind of situation. So they would get the bed and he'd be too scared to get it. So it's different in different situations. The aim is to get kind of like an all-rounded confident dog, but I mean there's always going to be these kind of variations from situation to situation, and it's kind of similar to you probably are aware of all this, how it's been debunked, but it still prevails with some people. There's this kind of years and years ago, like in the 70s, there was this bit of research about wolves and how their dynamic is in the pack, and what came out of that and what's kind of stuck around is this kind of belief that in the pack you've got an alpha at the head of the pack, and then everyone else is submissive to him, and the alpha gets best food, and he he'll attack others that threaten his position, and he always stays alpha. It's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. It's the same way as what we talked about with the confidence thing. It's like different dogs have got what would you say, dominance and submission. You've got in different situations, you've got different dogs that are the kind of top bred dog in these situations, like Freddie in this situation when he's playing. He is, if you like, the dominant one, and the others are submissive. But then when it comes to bedtime and it comes to who gets what bed, one of the collies will be the dominant one and he'll be the submissive one. So it sort of changes from situation to situation. It's not like across the board. It's not just a flawed bit of like research that was totally just proven about the alpha. So that's the other thing. Don't listen to anyone if they talk about that. The other thing I was going to say to you is, and really, you will get a lot of people that still act the way that to be confident. Like, first of all, I'll talk about the growth. If a dog is, somebody might say a dog is super confident if it is bulgy, and if it runs up to other dogs, and if it runs up to say hello, and like maybe might try and put its paw over the dog, you might like try and jump up on you, and people might excuse that by saying, oh, it's just really confident. It's not confidence at all. It's basically, it's really rude. It's a rude dog, and it's a dog with really poor impulse control. And really, if you have a confident dog, they're pretty neutral, and they don't need to assert their kind of like, I suppose you would say, their dominance over other dogs. If a dog is truly confident, it is neutral. So that's the first thing that I was going to talk about with that, a misconception. The other thing I was going to say is you might get people, humans, that that kind of excuse how they are with dogs as being confident, but they're not. They might excuse like screaming at the dog, or saying that you need to dominate the dog, or that you need to bully them in some way. You don't. You absolutely don't. And in fact, if you do that with the dog, all you're going to do is you're going to erode your confidence further. So if anybody tries to make out that, you know, they're really confident with dogs, yet they're shouting at them, it's not the case at all. Shouting and screaming and bullying your dog is not you showing confidence. It's you showing frustration. It's not showing confidence. So basically, your dog should respond to just one clear command, be it a hand gesture, be it a spoken word. Sometimes in the area that we live, yeah, we do need to shout a bit, but that's more like because we're in a big expansive area with quite often we've got the wind blowing our voice, or the waves, whatever. So we do need to kind of like shout a bit sometimes, but never dominating or bullying your dog. That's not confidence at all. That's damaging for their confidence. In that kind of situation, you just get a dog that's compliant, but not actually confident. More likely to have an outburst at some point. So that's the other myth I was going to tell you about. So okay, right, the whole goal of this is for you to increase your dog's confidence. Yeah, so the aim of it is just really to make your dog kind of resilient. So if something happens, like when you're out and about, I don't know, like if a lorry goes past and its air brakes go off and make a big noise, or the bin lorry or something that's really noisy, that, yeah, they can get a threat, but they quickly bounce back from it. They're not traumatized by it. They're not like jittery. They're not, they don't get a trauma response from it. Okay, so yeah, I think that everyone should work on this, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna reduce your dog being reactive. If you can get his confidence up, it's gonna reduce reactivity. It's it's going to make them more optimistic. The other thing is, if you can increase your dog's confidence, it's going to be able to kind of listen to you better. Say like if your dog, in certain situations, if your dog like loses the ability to listen to you and focus on you, then that's quite often confidence. So if you can take a step back and work on their confidence, that's going to mean that they can listen to you better. Okay. Yeah. I've just written here about the bounce back factor. So yeah, it's just basically what we talked about. If you have a situation like your kind of air brakes and your lorry going off, they're just going to bounce back from that kind of thing. They're not going to be scared to carry on with their walk or just reactive from there on in. So yeah, that's another reason to kind of work on the confidence thing. So how you would do it practically. So I've basically done this with Freddie, my Labrador. I got him early, so I got him when he was 7 weeks old. And I've been working on his confidence the whole time. There's fear periods of his puppyhood. I've been really mindful of the different developmental stages. But I've also done this with my real home dogs, the dogs that I've taken in for adoption. And they tend to be adolescent dogs that have reactivity. So I've done these things that I'm going to talk about with these different types of dogs, and they work. They absolutely work. First thing I would suggest you do is like a form of the consent game. I think that's what it's called. So you're going to need some treats. I prefer to use the dog's kibble, like a bit of the kibble. I hold back a bit of kibble from their breakfast or something. If your dog's not got great food motivation, that can be changed, but for the sake of doing it this way, just to go with what your dog really likes. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to put your hand out, so kind of like what we did with the focus game. You're going to put your hand out, you're going to say, do you want a treat? Do you want a treat? And you're going to wait for your dog to make contact with your nose. If they're not doing it, you can bring your hand to the nose. You can say, do you want a treat? You can tap their nose and then give them that treat. And you do that a few times until they kind of pick it up, until they're actually, do you want a treat? They're touching your hand, you're giving them a treat. So it's a very, very basic thing you're going to do for a kind of like consent test. You're going to build on that by doing like the same idea, but it could be with what I do with my dogs sometimes is I hold my hand and say, do you want to be brushed, comb your hair, or whatever you say to your dog. Again, like I talked about this last time, but if if you label everything, it's like you might feel a bit silly doing it, but it's like your dog takes in everything, even if you think they don't. So when you're brushing your dog, if you say whatever, you're gonna label it as comb your hair, brushing, whatever you're gonna label it. It's really useful because then you can use it for your kind of consent game. So you're going to put your hand out, you're going to say you want your hair brushed. Again, if they're not responding, tap their nose and give them a wee brush. Do it a couple of times and then they should get it. The thing, you can do it with anything, like, I don't know, if you can have a carrot or something, if you can say, do you want a carrot? You can do different ways, but the thing is always to like stick to your own rules. So you only ever brush the dog or give them a carrot or give them a treat if they touch your hand. If they don't, you have to leave it. That's him saying no. It's just that the more you do these kind of consent games, it's actually shown that it builds your dog's confidence. It sort of lets him know that it can communicate with you and you're listening and you're respecting, so it's got a bit of autonomy in what it's doing. That's really confidence building for your dogs. The other thing that you can do would be, you can just choice game with a couple of cups on the ground or plant pots, whatever. Just put one treat under one and a handful or like 4 or 5 under the other, and you can actually put them in front of the dog and you can say to your dog which one, and whichever one your dog puts its nose to, you lift it and your dog gets a treat. And you can reset it and do it again. You would need a couple of reps really of doing this, and the dog will probably end up going for making the choice itself. And that is really, really confidence building for the dog as well. If it makes a choice, a good choice, the dog is probably going to go for the plant pot or cup with the 4 or 5 treats under it. So all these things are really confidence building for your dog. The other things that I would do myself would be, I really like doing this, and this, you could say it's kind of like counter conditioning tricky situations that your dog is quite nervous about. I really like doing this with the dogs. Sometimes if you've got a dog that's a bit nervous, it'll be less inclined to do things like go out when it's raining or go through a puddle, walk through a puddle. But you can, in the gentlest way, compel it to do that, and then it gets the confidence from doing the scary thing. You know yourself, when you do something a bit scary, it kind of makes you feel a bit confident when you've done the scary thing. So it's the same for the dogs, but to encourage the dogs through in a really gentle way, to encourage them to do the scary thing, the tricky thing, you can kind of condition it by kind of like pairing it with something really nice. So they get something really nice for doing it. So the thing like going out when it's raining, it means like you can pair it with, okay, go out when it's raining, but it means that you get a really fun walk. And when we're out, we're having playtime and having the best time ever. You can encourage them to go through the puddle by pairing it with, okay, if you go through this puddle, I'm going to maybe compel you to go through it in a really gentle way. And it means that you get to this really brilliant place, this brilliant walk that we're going to do, this great adventurous walk. So I really like doing that. The worst thing you can do is, in my opinion, is if your dog is if you've got a little dog and it comes to something tricky like a puzzle or I don't know, like something like a really unpleasant wet patch of seaweed or something. So sometimes dogs will have like this kind of like belief that they can't do the scary thing, the tricky thing, and they stay unconfident. But if you compel them to go through that scary thing, then they do get like a growth and confidence from doing that. So in my opinion, the worst thing you can do is if your dog shows it's not keen on going through this puzzle or whatever, picking it up and carrying it over, in my opinion, is a setback, a thing to do. So I personally would not do that. I really wouldn't do that. I would encourage them to go through by pairing it with something really pleasant. So yeah, I was going to tell you about the stuff that I would do with my dogs, like practically what I would do with them, what I have done with them. So when my lab was small, what I would do is make an obstacle course for him around the house. So if you have a small dog, you could do this. It's very too big for it now, but I would include stuff like going through lots of boxes of cardboard. So it's like a cardboard, a pile of cardboard boxes, and they're having to go through a scary, noisy thing. But their adrenaline is really high from the fun of going round and enjoying having fun going round. It's a playtime really. So again, it's like pairing up with this kind of the good thing, the fun thing. Like you're playing with your puppy, you're playing with your dog. So going through cardboard, going through little tunnels, these kind of pop out tunnels you get in Argos, ball pits, use ball pits again from Argos, or wherever you go shopping, and then like sprinkle some of their kibble or their treats in ball pit with things like empty plastic bottles, so it's like super noisy and lots of different textures and things. That's a pretty good thing to do. Similarly, box feeding. So if you get a cardboard box, put in some treats or food inside it. So the dog has to kind of climb inside the box, which is quite scary for it. But again, you're pairing it up with something really nice. They're getting the nice treat, the nice food from doing it. So you could do these kind of things. They're quite good. Okay. Yeah, so these are the things I was going to tell you about. So the main kind of takeaway, I was thinking about this, and the main kind of like takeaway to think of it is like if you think about anything you're doing with the dog, so anything confidence building that you're doing with your dog, if you think of it as you're the dog's parent, so it's your job to kind of guide it and show it that things are okay, things are going to be fine, things are okay. You've got this. I don't know about you guys, but I maybe it's just me because I'm a wee bit strange about some things, but I would always say to myself, and you can do hard things. Like if I don't want to go out when it's like really horrible weather, but obviously I have to because I've got horses and I've got dogs and I have to go out. So I gotta say to myself, Anne, you can do hard things. You can do hard things. Do it. Just do it. You can do hard things. It's kind of like similar for dogs in a way. You're kind of wanting them to think they can do hard things. And you're the kind of parent. You're gonna guide them. You're not their sibling. You're not like their playmate. You're the guiding parent, the loving parent. So that's what I would leave with you to think about. So again, I've got gone a wee bit over just slightly, but yeah, really hope that helps you. I think it's really crucial. I do this, I do it all the time with the dogs, just to kind of maintain their confidence. Because it's so important. It really is like a backbone of what you're doing. So if you've got any questions about it, you can fire me a message on here or on Instagram or wherever. But I'm going to go. I've got another dog walk to do and then I'm going to go to bed. So hope you have a good night and a good week with your dogs.